Hello and welcome to the first Cambridge Wireless videocast. I'm Rob Symes, Senior Recruiter at Campbell Black. Today, in 2010, people are watching The X Factor and Big Brother and reading the tabloids, believing that success can be instantaneous. Well, for anyone who's been an entrepreneur or been involved in any kind of successful business, they know that success rarely happens overnight. Over the next 12 months, I'm going to be interviewing some of the most successful business people ever to come out of Cambridge or even the UK. These people have started businesses that are worth multi-million pounds. And also, they've invested in companies that are worth over £1 billion. First up is Ray Anderson, CEO of Bango, who I spent 2 hours with in his offices just over there. Ray's company is now worth over £55 million, but it wasn't always easy. It's taken 10 years for his company to make a profit. Ray tells me a little bit about how he's changing the world of the mobile internet and what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur. Take a look. Now Bango's worth over £55 million on AIM, that's what it's listed at the moment. You've got customers like Fox, Turner Broadcasting, and it's been a great success so far, I think. Obviously you've got lots of room to improve and lots of success to come. But I want to start earlier with your early life. Did you, when you were growing up as a kid, did you think you'd be running a business or CEO of a business quite like that?
Probably not. I think at first I thought I might be a pilot. My dad was an RAF pilot, right. So I thought I might become a pilot. And then for a while I thought I might be a scientist or an engineer, or in fact I wanted to be a tank designer was what I really wanted to do.
Okay, if we fast forward to school, what were you interested in at school? Was it mainly engineering?
Mainly sciences. The school got a programmable calculator, so I wrote a sort of a Star Trek game. I think it was back in about 1968 when Star Trek was on. In
science class, were you the kid at the front of the class, fascinated by the technology and taking things to, sort of to bits?
My nickname was Prof at school because in the physics and all those other sorts of things, I seemed to know what I was talking about.
And that leads me on quite nicely to Cambridge. Was in those days it was probably quite hard to get in.
In fact, well, just as a little interlude there, I actually didn't go to Cambridge straight from university. I think that was fortunate. I went via a company called Leyland Vehicles. I used to work for Leyland Truck and Bus up in Lancashire. Okay. And that was because it was a good chance to earn a bit of money before I went to university. And secondly, I like the idea of doing a thick sandwich where you work for somewhere for a year and then you go to university. Yeah. And so I got immersed into the world of trucks and engineering, and at that stage I was sort of, although I was going to be a scientist, I thought engineering was quite cool, mechanical engineering and so on. Yeah. And there I started to get more interested in the business side of things. But the eye-opener was when I worked for 6 weeks with, actually funny enough, with Charles Cotton, who's now in Cambridge, and that was in the bus marketing part of Leyland Vehicles. They built this big factory that made buses. They could churn out about 100 buses a week. But they were only selling 5 a week, so the Leyland National Bus Factory in Workington. And so I went up there and we were trying to brainstorm ways of selling more buses. So we were coming up with buses for airports to transport people to planes, or buses for prisoners, or buses with steering wheels on each side to drive across across ferries and things like that. And that was really interesting, and that got me to the idea of finding how on earth can you sell things and market things and so on. So I started to get a bit interested in business.
So during your time at Cambridge, what were you doing exactly?
Well, the first year being natural sciences, it was very, very busy. So you had Saturday lectures, and it was just lots of experimental work to do and so on. And there was all the social side, and there was everything else you do. And I was part of something called the Cambridge Microprocessor Group, which was doing early computers. So we're building computers out of egg trays and buying bulk packs of diodes, testing them to find out which one works, and making our own ROMs. And yeah, it was funny. My first computer was on a big bit of chipboard, and it was quite interesting. But that's funny enough where I got into business, because a friend of mine his father worked for the World Bank, and so he was able to use the diplomatic pouch to go back and forward between America and the UK. And so he ran a business which was about importing DRAM chips from America and selling them into students in Cambridge, import-export business, and that was quite good. So we could use his travel to and from the States, and so we could always get chips weeks ahead of them available in the UK and sell them, and that gave us the money. We actually kept some of the chips to use for our own computers, funded by that profit. So that was quite good. And then I also did, I remember just before I went to university, I wrote a computer game called Sheepdog, and it was on a cassette effectively, and I remember I didn't actually finish the game, and so but I put an advert in a newspaper for this game, and my dad was really angry because 500 cheques arrived for £10 each at my house one day, and then they just kept pouring in. People wanted to buy this game.
5,000 in one day.
Well, my dad made me send them all back because I hadn't finished the game at that stage. And I said, no, I'm going to finish it this week. He said, no, send them all back. So I had to pay the money to send all these cheques back. And my dad was really angry. Now, I didn't finish the game, but by that time, someone else had got a game. So
I suppose that's where the difference between supply and demand, really.
Yeah, that's right.